If you're someone who already has knowledge of the Great Reset concept but only passing knowledge of Bitcoin, perhaps the documentary's title alone, The Great Reset and the Rise of Bitcoin, is enough to pique your interest, and if so, here's the link. For those non-techies looking for practical, real-world reasons to look into and invest in Bitcoin, director Pierre Corbin's documentary effectively provides this. Bitcoin really is the ultimate tool to prevent the dystopian Great Reset future described by elite figures such as Klaus Schwab of the WHO, central bankers, and other hyper-wealthy elites such as Bill Gates, et al. While it's true some features of the Great Reset fall into the realm of unproven fantasy, the Great Reset and the rise of Bitcoin never does, always backing points up with hard facts and data. The film starts with director Pierre Corbin highlighting an instance that sounds like a conspiracy theory, but in fact really happened: the coordinated seeming move of every significant central bank to flood the system with money in early 2020 as a response to the coronavirus outbreak. Corbin goes on to paint a compelling picture that, with or without this disastrous policy of money printing, the US dollar was close to reaching the end of its life cycle as a fiat currency anyway. Corbin explains the long-term debt cycle here, and how the US dollar was easily calculable to be reaching its fiat dollar twilight years in and around the year 2020. But when we reach the end of this cycle, what happens next? Obviously, no one knows the future, but to cut to the chase, Corbin significantly underlines the creeping and creepy push from governments/central banks for CBDCs, which are a nightmarish dystopian technology of control. So far CBDCs have only been rolled out in a few places, but make no mistake, they are on their way. Most governments/central banks are clearly chomping at the bit to deploy these programs. But a major hurdle for them is the public's apathy towards such currencies. But it's not hard to imagine the future 6 months, a year, or more into the future described in Corbin's documentary, where central banks initiate a pincer movement on their respective publics, rolling out and offering CBDCs as an alternative to hyperinflating fiat currencies. In such a scenario, it's possible to see how many people, even if they hate CBDCs and understand what they are, might have no choice but to accept them as a currency, along with the negative consequences. From the midway mark to the end of the documentary, Corbin highlights that thankfully there is a solution to the CBDC-powered dystopia of the Great Reset. It is Bitcoin. You should check the movie out for a greater breakdown of what makes Bitcoin and the Bitcoin network a feasible and realistic alternative to the current fiat system and a potential CBDC-based system of the future. There are numerous features of Bitcoin/the Bitcoin network that make it a threat to the New World Order, and just a few of these are: decentralization. Bitcoin is a totally decentralized monetary system, meaning it is outside of the control of governments, central banks, or other wealthy groups or individuals. Deflationary currency. In the past 2 years it's become undeniable inflation is a devastating force on people's lives. This current round of inflation is due to central bankers printing their respective currencies to irrelevancy, but this will never be an issue for Bitcoin. Bitcoin has a hard cap of 21 million, so although there is currently a small inflation rate as Bitcoin is still being mined, it continues to decrease, and when the last Bitcoin is mined it will become a deflationary currency. Public ledger. Every transaction conducted on the Bitcoin network is recorded on the blockchain, which while some may argue is negative for privacy. Alternatively, a totally unacceptable standard is an adjustable, privately run blockchain-based currency. A private blockchain is exactly the kind of tech central bankers/governments want. So the fact anyone interested can set up a node on their home computer and view the current status of the Bitcoin blockchain at any moment is a gift to humanity, stopping governments/central bank plans in their tracks. This is just scratching the surface of what makes Bitcoin the perfect counter to the Great Reset. You should check out Pierre Corbin's documentary for more, and it's free on YouTube. Corbin had this to say when TNT reached out to him for comment on why he wanted the movie available for free. "It was important for me that the film was released for free. I believe that Bitcoin is the most important innovation of my lifetime and for generations to come. But it is losing a marketing war. It is our role as Bitcoiners to make education widespread, easy to understand and free. If I can help people understand Bitcoin the way I understand it, then it's a win for me."